Next slide, please. Yeah, this Champa, it's sometimes referred to as Champa or Cham Kingdom. As you see there, from 192 to 1832. Again, it's basically the central part. So if you kind of think of Vietnam and what has influenced Vietnam, you have the Chinese in the north, right? You had, in the middle part of the country, you have this Indian influence, basically during this Cham period. And then in the south, you have the Khmer influence. And when we talk about Ho Chi Minh City, it was originally a Cambodian city, or Khmer city, up until the 1600s. So that's kind of the three major influences across the length and breadth of Vietnam. But in any case, and also you might want to keep in mind, much of the history of Vietnam were the Viet's attempts to rid themselves of this Cham influence in the middle part of the country, of this ethnic group. Some of the Chams we see today, in fact, when I was walking around Hanoi, and I forget who I was with, I noticed a couple of women wearing some kind of headdress. And I said, maybe they could be Chams. The Chams today in Vietnam are mostly Islam, because Islam did reach the shores of Vietnam via Indonesia. And so some of these Chams converted to Islam, and if you see them around, many will wear a headdress that a typical Muslim would wear here in Vietnam. But again, I'm not sure in this case whether in fact they were, but might have been. Now, it wasn't until 1832 in which Minh Mang was able to annex all the Cham territories, and basically the fighting with the Chams stopped. Now, just a few more words about this Indianized culture of the Cham people. Hindus, you see the Hindu influence, but again, like I told people the other day, there was never a time in Vietnam where people speaking Sanskrit. I mean, basically, this is at the court level, the emperor level, that you see the influence of Hinduism and what they call Shaivism, which is a type of Hinduism, which became actually during the Cham period a state religion. Okay, I think that's all. I mentioned about their economy. They raided neighboring communities, and they had a deep faith and reverence for leaders and gods, these Cham people. And that comes across in some of the art and literature of the period. Western influence. Again, during the 17th and 18th century, we see more and more traders, more and more missionaries come to Vietnam. Like, they no sooner get rid of the Cham influence than the Vietnamese had to deal with foreigners coming to their shores. And again, like I mentioned last time, the French, with the excuse that their missionaries were being mistreated, in fact killed, Napoleon made the decision to attack Vietnam, and eventually Da Nang was taken over, and it was named Terrain in 1889. That's the bad news. The good news is that from that period on, there was some stability, and the country started to grow. Population started to grow pretty dramatically, and things were okay, right, until after the war, when the French, they battled the French, the communists, long-growing tide of foreign influence started to take matters into their own hands, and the city eventually, like much of South Vietnam, was taken over after 1954. It was taken over by the South Vietnamese government first. They renamed the city from Da Nang, from Terrain, to another one called Tai Pien City. No need to remember that. But in any case, that's a good shot, I think, of just how busy the port was, even as early, well, as early as 1973, yeah, when the communists took over the city. And then they renamed it again, Da Nang. Okay, what is Da Nang? As you can imagine, Da Nang today, it's an industrial center, regional hub. Tourism, again, a vital component of the economy of Da Nang, and the Cham Museum is a must-see. It really is. There's a lot there, and population 900,000 people. Really good sign. Not very far from Hue. You got to see the marble mountains. There's a lot. The beaches are not very far. China Beach and so on. People still surf there. A lot of resorts, caves also in Da Nang. So, there is a lot of potential for tourism. A lot more potential for tourism. Well, that's all I have. We've got some interesting places to visit, and I'm very happy with the itinerary that's been put together by Azamara, because, again, you really get a good idea of the history and culture of Vietnam by visiting some of these places. Anyway, thank you very much. Yeah.